Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Health Edition. And today we're continuing our reading of Vibrational Medicine by Dr. Richard Gerber, MD, medical doctor. So this is the third edition that we're using. And this book was inspired by a quote from a very famous and brilliant scientist, Nikola Tesla. And I'm paraphrasing his quote. He said, if you want to understand the universe or how the universe works or the secrets of the universe or something like that, you have to know about frequency, energy, and vibration. So this book was an inspiration for that. And I wanted to read this book because I've had this book for a while, and there's a lot of changes coming, in my opinion, in terms of the health department, I guess you can call it, or the healthcare system. And I think it's, important to understand how, I guess, the universe works from a non-physical or a subtle energy point of view. Yeah. So, anyways, I want to welcome everybody. If you like what we do here, please consider checking out our YouTube channel. We have other book clubs as well. We have our spiritual book clubs on Mondays and then financial book clubs on Thursdays. We put all the books that we read on YouTube, the past books as well as current books on YouTube, and we have it on a playlist so you guys can download it and listen to it when you're in traffic or doing laundry or walking the dog or whatever. We have other contents on YouTube as well, so please do check it out. If you have a book you want to recommend for us to read, I will leave a link in the description box below. It could be a spiritual book, a health book, or a financial book. We love to consider it, and we'd love to hear from you. And then if also consider signing up for our free monthly newsletter as well. And if you want to support us further, you can buy me a coffee, leave a donation, and check out our merch on our shop section in our website. We have many different designs for both your furry friends, for your little doggies and kitties, as well as for humans as well. So please do check them out. And then lastly, if you're in Los Angeles or if you're visiting LA, please consider coming to our healing center. And we'd love to meet you in person and get to know you. We have a healing center that we use technologies based on Nikola Tesla's scalar wave research for holistic healing for both animals, cats and dogs, and humans. So you can read all about that on our website and our other services that we provide as well. And I will leave all those links in the description box below for you guys to check it out. Okay, so this is the vibrational medicine, and this will be chapter 3, part 2. Now, this particular author is a physician, so sometimes he can get kind of um, the tone of his writing can get a little medical, in my opinion. So, anyways, or scientific, I guess you can call it. So I'm gonna move the camera in a little bit so you guys can see. If you have a book, you can follow with us there. If not, you can follow with us here on camera. For those who are visual learners like me. If not, you can just listen. That's okay too. Whatever works for you. You know, everybody learns differently, and also it's important to learn in many different modalities. So it kind of sinks in. You know, you want to learn by reading, you want to learn by video, you want to learn by listening, different modalities. That's what makes us unique. We're we're multidimensional and multifaceted human beings. All right. Okay, here we go. X-rays revisited, the development of the CAT scanner. The earliest methods employing X-rays to visualize bones within tissues used simple X-ray tubes placed above the body with a fluorescent screen or photographic plate held behind. With further apparatus development and fine-tuned control of the X-ray source, physicians had greater flexibility and control over radiation dosage than was previously possible. Also, the initially weak fluorescent screen images could be brightened by electronic image intensifiers, enabling the practical use of the fluorescent scope for real-time observation of motion. Still, the images seen of bone against nearly transparent tissue remain the same except when used with special contrast media to highlight soft tissues such as blood vessels and gastrointestinal tracts. Perhaps the most revolutionary development in diagnostic imaging came with the marriage of computer technology to X-ray sources. The CAT the CAT scanner, oops, sorry about that. Okay. The CAT scanner, short for computerized axial tomography, operates by sending a thin beam of X-rays into the subject in question. The beam slowly rotates 360 degrees around the subject and takes a brief photograph at every angle. A computer within the scanner mathematically analyzes and sums up the separate photos, then reconstructs an image which looks like a cross-section through the human body. The more advanced CT, computerized tomography scanners, produce images that look like a thin slice through the scanned area of the body. The images produced include that of soft tissue, at one time nearly invisible to the X-ray eye. The CT scanner has revolutionized diagnosis in neurology. Previously, there existed only indirect methods of visualizing the brain, and at times exploratory neurosurgery was necessary. Because of the CT scanner's ability to see into the tissues of the brain and body, earlier and easier diagnosis of various tumors and structural damage, earlier and easier diagnosis of various tumors and structural tissue abnormalities is possible. What appears of even greater importance than the X-ray CT scanner is the mathematical and computer methodology that has evolved from its construction. It is now possible to transform analytical data from different types of scanning devices into three-dimensional reconstructions of body parts, such as the head. So this sentence coming up is italicized by the author, so I will read it twice for emphasis. Okay, so this is italicized. Whereas the X-ray CT scanner was able to miraculously display only detailed bone and soft tissue structure, the newer scanners are able to demonstrate physiological and cellular function. Okay, let me read that again because it's italicized. Whereas the X-ray and CT scanner was able to miraculously display only detailed bone and soft tissue structure, the newer scanners are able to demonstrate physiological and cellular function. Of the scanners developed from this new technology, the first to give insight into the basic cellular function of brain tissue was the PET scanner. PET stands for positron emission tomography. The PET scanner is the product of a merging of two previously separate and distinct diagnostic technologies, nuclear medicine and computerized tomography. In nuclear medicine, short-lived radioactive substances with the property of being actively concentrated into a specific organ of the body, like the thyroid gland or liver, are intravenously injected into patients undergoing the scan. The patient is then placed next to a scintillation detector that measures the emission of radioactive particles from the tracers localized in the organ in question. The detector produces a flat two-dimensional picture of the outline and form of the organ, giving size, location, and any local filling defects, etc. The PET scanner is primarily used for studying the function of the brain. Radioactively labeled glucose, the primary fuel of the brain, is intravenously injected and taken up by the brain. The radioactive glucose is a positron emitter, hence the source of positrons in PET scanning. An array of sorry, an array of scintillation detectors is strategically placed around the patient's head. By adapting the mathematical computer programs of CT technology, the PET scanner is able to reconstruct a cross-sectional view of the brain based upon the positrons emitted by the radioactive glucose, which has been actively taken up by the cells of the brain. Depending upon how active particular areas of the brain are, greater or lesser amounts of glucose fuel will be utilized. And this sentence is italicized. What the PET scan displays is a picture that looks like a CT scan of the head based on the cellular activity of different parts of the brain. So I'll read that again since it's italicized. What the PET scan displays is a picture that looks like a CT scan of the head based on the cellular activity of different parts of the brain. Using this scanner, scientists are currently studying differences in regional brain activity between normal individuals and those with mental illnesses like schizophrenia and manic depressive illness. In some cases, a switch in drug treatment based upon the PET scan has resulted in clinical improvement where previously there have been none. Scientists are also studying the areas of the brain involved with certain skills like reading, listening to speech and music, and handedness. Whereas the CT scanners provide useful insights into structural defects of brain tissue, the PET scanner allows scientists to probe the dynamic functional qualities of human consciousness itself. Although initial results point toward great value of the PET scanner, cost limitations such as the need for a linear accelerator to produce the radioactive glucose will limit widespread diagnostic applications of this device in the psychiatric community. Pure research using this type of scanner may, however, confirm the effectiveness of certain drug and other treatments for healing mental illness. Since the first work with the PET scanner, new radioactive substances have been developed. There is now a tracer, for example, which binds the dopamine receptors. For the first time in medical history, cellular components such as the dopamine receptors involved in schizophrenia and motor disorders like Parkinson's disease have actually been visualized within the living brain. Previously, cellular components were studied via microscopic analysis of specially treated brain tissue that had been taken from the cadavers of patients exhibiting a specific disease. The PET scan promises to bring wondrous new information to our understanding of the brain. Yet, there is another new scanner in the horizon that promises to bring even more unique insights into the human body. Beyond the CAT scanner, the body according to MRI. As you will recall, the X-ray CT scanner gave us a cross-sectional view of the structure of the human body for the first time. In the last several years, we have been witness to the slow incorporation of a new tool into the hospital radiology department, the MRI scanner, also known as magnetic resonance imaging. 3 times as expensive as the CT scanners it may replace, the device has only recently obtained FDA approval. A tremendous undercurrent of excitement and interest is beginning to build within the medical community as preliminary studies of MRI's diagnostic potential slowly finding their way into the medical literature. The reason for the mounting excitement lies in the nature of the body images that the MRI scanner is able to produce. From a purely physical diagnostic standpoint, MRI has been able to visualize tumors in the body, that were previously undetectable by conventional CT scan. MRI is unlike anything that we have discussed thus far in that it involves no X-rays or nor injected radioactive substances. Magnetic resonance imaging is a system which utilizes the now familiar CT computer programs to produce pictures of the human body based on their reaction to high intensity magnetic fields. Of interest is the fact that current MRI images are based on the distribution and structured qualities of water within the tissues of the human body. How MRI is able to accomplish this trick involves quite an explanation. Magnetic resonance imagers produce their pictures by exploiting the phenomenon of nuclear magnetic resonances, NMR, an analytical technique which has been known to organic chemists since the 1960s. It was not until the 1970s that it became adapted to medical imaging systems. To visualize living tissue, MRI capitalizes on the magnetic properties of protons, hydrogen atoms in water. Protons appear to behave like tiny spinning magnetic earths. Protons have axes forming north and south magnetic poles. In the strong magnetic field of MRI, the random distribution of N and S poles becomes charged or changed. All the protons align their axis in the direction of orientation of the magnetic field. A second stimulus, a radio frequency beam, is then applied. This beam is attuned to the inherent frequency of the proton. When the beam is switched on, the magnetically aligned protons begin to rotate slowly about their axis. The radio beam is then suddenly switched off. Energy is now released from the stimulated protons in the radio frequency range and is picked up by the detectors situated in a circle around the patient in the MRI scanner. The mathematical analysis of data received utilizing the CT computer programs allows an image to be reconstructed based upon the multiple detector measurements. The MRI scanner is able to create a thin slice or cross-sectional image of the human body unparalleled in detail by any previously existing scanner. The quality of information revealed by thin MRI slices of living individuals approaches the fine anatomic details seen in sections taken from human cadavers. Using magnetic resonance imaging, we are able to get a non-invasive glimpse of organ structure in the living human body from a viewpoint previously available only to the surgeon and the pathologist. Current MRI scanners are using stimulated protons as their emitting source. They are dependent upon the body's water, the largest source of protons. Water, as you will recall, makes up 99% of the molecules composing the human body. Water is also generated by chemical processes going on within the metabolic machinery of cells. So this next sentence is italicized by the author. The key principle behind magnetic resonance imaging is the fact that the atoms under study, which is hydrogen, are being stimulated by the transfer of energy of a specific frequency. In this case, the energy lies in the realm of radio waves. The energy is only absorbed by the atom if it is of a particular resonant frequency. So I'll read that again since it's italicized. The key principle behind magnetic resonance imaging is the fact that the atoms under study, hydrogen, are being stimulated by the transfer of energy of a specific frequency. In this case, the energy lies in the realm of radio waves. The energy is only absorbed by the atom if it is of a particular resonant frequency. Again, we have a situation analogous to the model of electronic orbitals, or energy shells of the atom. In order to shift an electron from lower to higher orbit, only energy of specific frequency characteristics will be accepted. If the electron descends from the higher to the lower orbit or energy shell, it will release a photon of a similar frequency as that taken to move it from one level to the next. The character of energy required to shift the electron is its resonant frequency. MRI does something similar with the hydrogen atoms in delivering energy of a frequency resonant only to the protons. Because of this principle of resonant specificity, researchers are trying to apply MRI's electronic window to studying other atoms, including sodium and phosphorus. Phosphorus is a component of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the energy currency of the cell. Phosphorus is also a component of CPK, creatine phosphokinase, a muscle-specific enzyme. MRI researchers hope that by utilizing an energetic source resonant with the phosphorus molecule, they may be able to actively visualize chemical energetic exchanges at the cellular level. Additionally, doctors may learn to diagnose disorders of muscle, such as muscular dystrophy, without having to biopsy muscle tissue. Magnetic magnetic resonance systems may prove to be a tool by which we can measure cellular metabolism in a non-invasive manner. MRI is able to use magnetic fields to visualize the cellular distribution and structural qualities of water. Therefore, it would be interesting to speculate as to the diagnostic possibilities of MRI in observing subtle energy changes of healing in the human body, knowing now what we do about the special energetic properties of water. Bernard Grad's studies on psychic healing, chapter 2, noted that healers could alter the molecular and energetic qualities of water and affect the ability of water to promote plant growth under adverse conditions. If the molecular properties of water were shifted by the healer's etheric fields, MRI might be used to study the subtle magnetic effects of healers on the human body and on the inherent structure of water within living tissue. More will be said about the energetic changes brought about by psychic healers in Chapter 8. Magnetic resonance imaging promises to bring forth much new diagnostic information about the human body. Yet another new window on the body has been opened, this time yielding even more detailed cellular pictures of structure and function. But we're still stuck at the level of physical molecular imaging, a sophisticated Newtonian analysis. Although the information obtained from this approach is highly significant and useful, there is still a further bridge to be crossed in viewing the human framework from its true energetic perspective. The principles learned from MRI combined with insights taken from Kirlian photography may soon yield one of the greatest breakthroughs in diagnostic imaging of human subtle energetic anatomy. A step beyond EMR, scanning and electrography, on the threshold of the etheric. The next great step in diagnostic scanner development may lie in the extrapolation and application of the key principles found in each of the aforementioned systems. As mentioned previously, one of the most significant breakthroughs in cross-sectional imaging has been the CT mathematical computer program. The computer allows us to summate a tremendous amount of data in seconds. It reconstructs large volumes of information into one pictographic gestalt, which can then be interpreted by the human eye and brain. The human mind is still the most important ingredient in meaningful pattern recognition. It is the physician, not the computer, that makes the diagnosis. Computers can only create sophisticated images, yet it is the ability of the computer to compress hours of boring mathematical calculations into useful pictures that makes it so valuable to diagnostic scanner development. In the near future, scientists will capitalize on the groundwork set down by developers of the CT and MRI scanners. Soon, perhaps, computerized electronic imaging systems will allow physicians to study the etheric body in great detail. Biological resonance will be the key which will open up this door into the largely unseen world of life processes. Resonance is the most important principle utilized by creators of magnetic resonance imaging systems. MRI systems broadcast energy of a specific resonant frequency. This energy selectively excites cellular components, which in turn emit energy that can be used to create images of the cellular structures. By examining different molecular, cellular, and bodily components which are illuminated by this energetic process, one can literally turn people into transparent beings. The ability to stimulate only one molecular system allows scientists to be selective about what they wish to examine. As mentioned earlier, resonant stimulation of phosphorus atoms may prove of greater interest to neurologists studying muscle disorders. Similarly, resonant imaging of hydrogen and thus structuring and distribution of water within tissues may be more valuable to oncologists looking at normal organ structure versus cancerous growths. Although MRI is a revolutionary application of the principle of resonance, doctors are still limited in studying the physical and biochemical components of the human cellular framework. MRI is basically a tool for examining the distribution of molecular structure and biochemical function in the human body. What is needed now is an imaging system that allows physicians to look to the level of energetic causes of illness and not merely the biochemical abnormalities accompanying established disease. The inevitable successors of already existing imagers will ultimately enable doctors to find the true precursors of health and illness and not just the aftermath of a ravaging disease process. Truly preventive medicine awaits the development of an imaging system which will prove to doctors that there is more to human beings than mere flesh and blood, membranes, and receptors. Kirlian photography holds tantalizing clues to ways that scientists in the New Age may eventually detect precursors to illness by studying the unseen patterns of life energies that bring order or disorder to the minds and bodies of human beings. At the present level of Kirlian research, electrographic fingerprints have hinted at the presence of certain illnesses such as cancer and cystic fibrosis. However, Kirlian fingerprints do not yet carry the weight and accuracy of disease detection that is needed to convince doctors that there are energetic precursors of illness. What is needed is a system based on Kirlian diagnostic technologies, which can image the entire body and not just the fingers. Indications are that some Soviet and Romanian researchers are making headway in this direction. The key that will allow researchers to view the subtle bioenergetic fields of human beings may lie in the phenomenon of resonance. With MRI scanners, physicians are using energetic resonance principles to image physical organs of the body in disease states. A marriage of MRI, CT, and Kirlian systems may make it possible to go beyond present resonant technologies to look even deeper into the subtle energetic makeup of human beings. To understand how Kirlian systems may hold the key to imaging etheric and other subtle energetic systems, it is necessary to examine the electrographic process in greater detail. For the purposes of our discussion of subtle energetic fields, we will focus on the most important phenomenon that Kirlian systems demonstrate, i.e., their ability to capture the phantom leaf effect. The phantom leaf effect, seen via Kirlian photography, repeatedly demonstrates a holographic energy field component of living systems. The missing leaf that appears in Kirlian electrographs appears identical in structure to the physical leaf. This phantom is a part of the etheric body of the leaf, a growth template or waveguide that assists in the expression of the life force through the genetic potential of the plant. We must, for a moment, ask ourselves how Kirlian photography, oops, sorry, We must for a moment ask ourselves how Kirlian photography is able to reveal the etheric phantom. It is a feat which literally makes the invisible visible. What follows is an interpretation of the mechanism by which Kirlian photography is able to capture this phenomenon. I think the missing a word there. What follows is an interpretation of the mechanism by which Kirlian photography is able to capture this phenomenon. Hmm. Okay, the basic principle behind Kirlian photography's ability to produce images on film is the corona discharge phenomenon. Most scientists who have studied Kirlian systems have agreed upon this fact. In a simple electrographic apparatus, there is a high frequency power source connected to an electrode beneath a sheet of film. A high frequency current set to the hidden electrode creates an electrical field which bathes the photographic film. The film surface becomes charged at a high electrical potential. When a finger or other grounded object is placed upon the film, it provides a pathway for electrons of high potential on the film surface to travel to low potential, ground or earth, the ultimate electron sink. Energy always flows from high to low potential. The electron trails created by torrents of electrons. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, energy always flows from high to low potential. The electron trails created by torrents of electrons jumping from the film to the grounded object create the beautiful electrical corona discharge, which is captured in total darkness on the photographic film. The image produced by this technique is called a Kirlian photograph. The pattern of electron streamers around the object, as well as the colors captured on film, appears to contain varying amounts of diagnostic information about the photographic subject. Okay, we will stop here for now. I want to say briefly about energy. So the sentence here, it says energy always flows from high to low potential. So I've worked in the hospital settings and home health settings and hospice settings for many years. And one of the reasons why nurses get so tired or doctors get so tired is because illness and sickness is low energy. And doctors and nurses are healthy beings, so they're high energy. So it's almost sort of like when nurses and doctors take care of sick patients, the energy of the sick patients, it's almost like a, uh, what is that? Blood sucking, that word kind of. Oh, I'm having a senior moment here. Not zombies. What is that? Oh, you see it in movies a lot. That word kind of vampires, vampires. Thank you. So the energy, the low energy of the sick patients, it's almost like an empire, vampire, where they suck the energy of the nurses and doctors to replenish their depleted energy. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that sentence kind of comes to mind. This from my personal experience, which is probably why doctors and nurses get burned out a lot because their energy is being sucked away. And which is why it's important for doctors and nurses or healthcare providers, not just limited to doctors and nurses, but healthcare providers, first responders, they need to do a lot of self-care, which isn't taught at all in because we don't understand or the energetic aspect isn't taught in school, right? In nursing school or EMT school or whatever school that you're in. But anyways, that's an interesting, I just wanted to kind of mention that. This is from my experience. Anyways, what do you think? Have you had any, oops, sorry about that. Have you had any experiences with that? What are your experiences? What's your health journey like? What do you think about this particular chapter and this particular section? We'd love to hear from you, and thank you for being here. And we will see you next time in our next book club. Okay, bye bye now.